Hello everyone, this is going to be a quick and basic tutorial on how to mod the Tower of Madness. Now, with mod support where it is right now, it's actually a bit more complicated than you might think on modding it and whatnot. So I'm just kind of making this quick tutorial to help guide you guys through the process, if that makes any sense. So keep in mind that with modding and the Tower of Madness still in its infancy, there's going to be a lot of stuff about it that's still like a massive work in progress. And much of its kinks that are in it right now, they will get flushed out and more polished in the future. And although there could be like better methods of modding this out there right now, this is just simply my way of doing it, if that makes any sense. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into the tutorial. So first things first, we're going to need the Mad Card Maker if you don't already have it installed. And we're also going to need the Workshop Uploader if you plan on uploading this to the Steam Workshop. It's more optional than anything, but anyways, the main thing, we need the Mad Card Maker. So once you get that downloaded, extracted, and opened up, we're gonna go ahead and hit the plus sign right here, and we're gonna give the folder that our mod's gonna be contained in a name, along with naming the mod itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Give me 1 second. Alrighty, so once you've named your mod pack and folder and whatnot, we're going to go ahead and mod it up. And that's about it that we need to do inside the Mad Card Maker for right now. So now we're going to swing over to the File Explorer real quick. And now we're going to track down the Tower of Madness inside the Steam Workshop folder that it's inside. So in order to get to that, we're going to need to go through OS, program files times 86, Steam apps, workshop, content, 48860, and then at this point we're going to track down the workshop ID that the Tower of Madness has or whatever. So swinging over to the mod page or whatever, this is where it's going to be contained right here. I actually have it already copied, or I already have it over here, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And then I'm going to cheat a little, just kind of paste it into the search bar right here. And then, yeah, regardless of how you find it, once we eventually do, we're going to pry into it. And then we're going to select these two right here. We're going to copy them. And now we're going to track down our mod folder that we had just created. So we're going to swing back over to this PC, OS, users, basically your username, app data, local low, Gibbing tree, Madness Project Nexus, mods, and then the mod pack that we named, which is, in my case, it's Tom Mixer Z pack. And then we're going to paste our mod, or we're going to paste those two thingamajigs into here. And so now at this point, we're going to swing right back over to Mad Card Maker, and then we're going to open up our mod pack. Now, what we basically just did there is that we just gave ourselves full access to every character, modified character to be more specific, that's in the Tower of Madness. Now, with that being done, we're going to go ahead and make ourselves a new deck. We're going to give our new deck a name. Bear with me for a second. Once we made our new deck, we're going to go ahead and select it, hit the plus sign, go over to select card type, and then track down characters. Now, at this point, we can go ahead and modify or replace any of these vanilla characters right here. Slap all this onto the Steam Workshop, and then have the mod work just fine on the Tower of Madness. However, by doing it this way, we will potentially affect other modes like arenas, story campaign, other people's custom levels, basically just any scene that contains Madness characters or whatnot, because these changes will also translate to all of those. Meaning, like, if we ever want, meaning you would have to go through and only enable this if you're playing the Tower of Madness, and then disable it if you want to do anything else. Now, typically, we don't want that, which is why I went through and made a modified version of all of these characters by putting the prefix mix underneath, in front of all of them. This allows us to modify the character however we like without having it potentially affecting anything outside of the Tower of Madness. We can keep it condensed inside the custom level itself. But anyways, at this point, we can go ahead and modify any of this and then copy and paste the Mad card into this thing right here, if that makes any sense. Or we can straight up replace the entire character overall, which is probably what we're going to do for this tutorial right here. So to do that, we're going to go over to the root right here. And in this case, I'm going to make it into a Z. And then at this point, we're going to hit Control L. Control L, come on. Oh, wait, sorry. Control L. And then the character that I want to replace is potentially going to be a grunt. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Now, basically what I just did there is that I have it set up in such a way to where this grunt is going to get replaced with a Z. The Mad card itself is the character that's going to get replaced, and then the Z right here that's in the root is essentially the character that's going to replace the grunt, if that makes any sense. So in that case, we're going to go ahead and save. Exit out of this, and now this thing is pretty much done. So now at this point, what if we wanted to add characters from other mods into our mod, if that makes any sense? So here's what we're going to do. We're going to swing back over to the, File Explorer, and then go back over to the folder containing all of our workshop mods, if that makes any sense. Fortunately, I have it pinned over here to save time. And so from here, we're gonna, we're gonna choose a mod. Which mod do I want? I'll go for the expansion pack, screw it. At this point, we're gonna select all the essentials that we need from this mod. So in that case, Mad Objects JSON, I may grab the log as well, just in case if we need that as well. We're gonna copy it. We're then going to swing back over to our mod folder. Again, I have this pinned to save time. And then we're going to paste this directly into our mod. So now, at this point, if we were to go back, and then go back into the mod itself, yep, there it is. It is right here. And so now, in that case, we can go ahead and modify or replace these characters with these modded characters, if that makes any sense. Though, bit of a fair warning, if you're going to use characters from other mods on your mod in particular, be sure to add the mod that you're using this on your list of required items on your Steam Workshop page, if that makes any sense. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and make a couple of characters using this mod right here. Bear with me for a second. Alrighty, done and done. Also, by the way, if you want to know where these characters are going to show up inside the Tower of Madness, I made a very nifty discussion on my on the discussion tab of the Tower of Madness workshop page, where it essentially tells you what characters spawn on which floor and how many spawn on there. But for the sake of this tutorial, I won't go too nuts on the modifications. I'll probably keep it all condensed down to floor 2, if that makes any sense. But at this point, we're pretty much good to go. we can go ahead and enable this add-on in the game and go ahead and test it out. Actually, one thing that I forgot to mention, before we even play test it, we need to actually enable it in the Mad Card Maker, if that makes any sense. So basically, just hit this little check mark right here, and then just disable any other like Tower of Madness mod packs that you have, and then hit Return to Mods. Now it should be able to like show up in the Tower of Madness. So now let's actually go through and playtest this now. Alrighty, so it looks like our mod pack is now working properly now. I will admit I did have to go back through and remake this because when I had the casual pack enabled by accident, and as a result it ended up corrupting some of the characters or whatever. But typical rule of thumb whenever you're replacing characters or whatever, you want to have this +1 sign on there. If chances are, if it doesn't, it's probably not gonna like replace the character, if that makes any sense. But for the most part, this mod pack is pretty much done. So now we're gonna move on to the Workshop uploader and get this thing on the Steam Workshop now. Alrighty, so now that we're at the Workshop uploader thingamajig, if you've never actually worked this before, let me give you a quick rundown on it. So we're going to type in create. We're going to give it our mod name. Just give me 1 second. Alright, we're going to give it a mod description, but in my case I'm going to leave it blank for the sake of the tutorial. And now at this point, we've reached a point where we absolutely need to, this is a required thing, I guess you could say. So in this case, we're going to need a 512 by 512 by 512 image. So in this case, I'm just going to reuse one of the previous icons for one of my add-ons. So in this case, I'm going to copy the path. It doesn't really matter where it is on your files, as long as you can find it and you can copy as path. So once we get this pasted into here, I'm going to go through and remove the quotation marks. I'm pretty sure the recent update kind of makes it work regardless, but I'll get rid of them anyways just in case. And now at this point, we're going to need the content path, so back over to mods. We're then going to copy the path for our mod folder, paste that, get rid of the quotation marks because that shit is completely and utterly crap. Tags are optional. I'm not going to put any just because it's a tutorial. At this point, are you sure you want to upload this? Y, and it stands for yes. So at this point, we're just going to let this upload, and never mind, it's already done. Alright, so now with our mod pack officially on the workshop, there is one more thing we need to do before we can finally conclude this tutorial. And this is the one step that you'll need to take for for any mod pack that you subscribe to from other people, and specifically the ones that use the modified vanilla characters with the prefix mix. Now, using those characters, they're a bit of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, they stay within the Tower of Madness. They don't go into story mode, arena mode, whatever. But on the other hand, because we ripped them straight from the Tower of Madness and onto another mod, they're not going to show up. They're not going to show up in game simply by subscribing to the add-on and then enabling it within the game. So here's what we got to do to fix this. First things first, we need to subscribe to the mod. Go figure. So once it gets done updating or whatever, we're then going to swing back over to the workshop folder. We're then going to track down our mod because we literally just subscribed to it. If this were a list, it would be all the way down at the bottom. But because I have this as large icons, it's probably going to be right here. Okay, yes, thank God. We're then going to select every single file over here, with the exception of info and the Tom Modify characters. We're going to copy it. We're then going to swing back over to the Tower of Madness mod, and then we're going to paste these into basically paste it into there. And then at that point, you should officially be done, and yeah, it's pretty much finished. And you can now run the Tower of Madness with your mod pack. But yeah, that is going to conclude our tutorial on modding the Tower of Madness. Obviously, it's not exactly the most ideal method. As I mentioned before, it's still a massive work in progress. It's an extremely experimental feature that I'm introducing into the custom level. And of course, as time goes on, it will get fleshed out more polished, and fingers crossed, a lot more simple to use. Hopefully, you can just simply press the subscribe button and not have to go from one file to another, copying, pasting content, and taking content out, if that makes any sense. But until then, I shall see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.